Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. Why is gold and silver still low despite inflation? Let's explore! A perplexing question indeed. And there's a lot of different theories out there, but I think it's really tough to hone in as to the one single answer as to why gold and silver are still low compared to other items out there, especially those that are measured by the Consumer Price Index and others for inflation. There's a lot of different factors that can affect prices of all commodities and goods and services. We are certainly undoubtedly in an era of high inflation. In fact, there's threats of stagflation and maybe even hyperinflation. And so that leaves one to wonder, well, why is gold and silver still low after we've seen this happen for quite some time now? You know, you can't always expect gold and silver to just automatically snap with the markets. In other words, when the prices move, based off the dollar index or inflation or any other options, why doesn't gold and silver react just immediately? It's not usually like that. Now, the biggest driver and indicator of the gold and silver price is the dollar index. Usually when their dollar index is strong, well, gold and silver weaken, and vice versa. Of course, that's not always the case. Then you have bond yields that come into play as well. And by the way, both of those are working against gold as of the recording of this video. And right now, we are seeing gold and silver down, actually, on the day. When we saw when we saw the prices kind of recover, at least to previous lows. In other words, where it was low before. That rose to where it was low before. Because we saw a pretty massive drop last week. And it is confusing to some, frustrating to others. In fact, the next reason people attribute to low gold and especially silver prices, because silver has really been affected. It's a lot more volatile than gold is. In fact, that's one of the reasons why we see a widening gold to silver ratio. Right now, as of the recording of this video, it's just under 78. But where will it go in the future? Well, I believe that gold and silver prices will go up in the future, but how far along the line will that be? No one really knows. I've made my predictions, but I think a lot of it is going to depend upon several factors, and the biggest factor, I believe, is what's keeping gold and silver low, is psychology. And emotion drives the markets, and a lot of that emotion is irrational. In fact, when they say that you often, people that react under raw emotion tend to act irrationally. And I don't believe any of that is different for the precious metals markets. Gold and silver are certainly affected by emotion, and the drivers for that are based off of the electronic markets, the ETFs, exchange traded products, ETPs, exchange traded funds. And we know that the prices for those are monitored, by the COMEX, the LBMA, and people feel that those markets are manipulated. In fact, we know they are manipulated, at least within organizations to some degree, or at least they have been in the past, based off of stories that I've covered on this channel, where people have been caught doing it within. JP Morgan is the biggest name that you hear. Now, they are the largest custodian of silver exchange traded products, but nonetheless, it is not exclusive to them. But that manipulation occurs in both directions in order for traders to profit. So therefore, it's kind of tough to really measure to see what kind of an effect that can have, especially on suppression. Although there are many in this community who feel that there is price suppression, and it is a conspiracy between not just JP Morgan, but other institutions as well. But I'm not going to attribute the low prices to those. I think the emotion is being triggered by this feeling that inflation is transitory. In other words, people are buying what the Fed is spewing. And the Federal Reserve, I just recently recorded a video that talks about corruption and scandal in the Federal Reserve, a potential other scandal that could have come about, and other areas of investigations that are occurring within the Fed. And so how much can we trust the Fed and what they say? I don't really put a whole lot of stock into what the Fed says. However, notwithstanding, the markets do, and they react. This channel is, well, maybe not famous, but maybe infamous for talking about the Fed and what they say. One word can turn the markets one way or the other, and that certainly has an effect on gold and silver. And so, therefore, when people are under the some sort of spell, maybe for lack of a better term, or under some assumption that this inflation is going to be transitory, well, they think things are going to get better. And so therefore, the dollar index increases, bond markets go up, and silver and gold prices go down. And they go down, that means they're acting not as commodities, but as hedges. In other words, people aren't worried in the markets. But those of us who stack the physical gold and silver, well, we are of a different stripe. We certainly do feel pretty nervous about the markets and what's happening, and we know that it's only a matter of time before things go in a different direction, and that means that gold and silver will more than likely go up in price. And some people feel that, considering where things are and how really unstable the whole global economic situation is, we feel that gold and silver should be a lot higher now, and that their true value is not realized yet. And so these prices that we're seeing right now are a bargain. And I would encourage you to not be discouraged if you are new at stacking and you bought silver, especially during the silver squeeze when it was pushing $27, $28, and now it's dropped down to 22 and some odd change. Well, hang in there. Do not sell your silver unless you absolutely need to for emergency purposes. Otherwise, I would encourage you to hold on to it and press on, because sooner or later things will turn around and these metal prices will normalize. Because I believe these prices right now are abnormal considering the conditions that we face as a nation and also in the whole entire world. Pretty much everybody is operating under the guise of modern monetary theory. And sooner or later that's going to come back and bite them. But it won't bite us as we hold gold and silver. And so I believe that is why gold and silver are still low despite inflation. In fact, some have predicted that we won't see prices rise until next year. I'm going to be fairly stubborn here and stick with my beginning of the year predictions of gold and silver, and still think that they will rise to the amounts that I have predicted then, which is that silver will touch on 30, between 30 and 35, although I'm leaning now more towards the $30 mark for obvious reasons, and that gold could touch $2,000 before the end of the year. I still think it's possible. It's becoming less and less likely as the year runs out, the calendar year. But I believe when you make a prediction, you should stick with it. And if at the end of the year you're wrong, well, you can say you're wrong. And I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong about my predictions, because I don't take my predictions seriously, and neither should you. But the fundamentals have not changed about gold and silver. They still continue to be wealth preservation devices. Think of them as life rafts, although I think especially gold, it will sink a lot faster than silver would in water. But I think that's a good thing, because that means that they are going to, they're of substance of value, but they will keep you afloat despite the density of these metals and their ability to sink in water. Financially, And in terms of wealth preservation, they will do their thing, and they will continue to do that throughout the course of history, as they have for millennia. These metals, gold and silver, have proven themselves time and time again. And even though the prices for these metals are low right now, they still are proving themselves. And some may say, well, how can you say that? That sounds very foolish, especially since I bought gold when it was $1,900 an ounce, and I bought silver when it was at $26 an ounce. And by the way, I paid high premiums for them. How can you say that they have proven themselves? Well, the very fact that people aren't nervous, at least in the markets, people that trade the paper are not nervous about the economy, at least seemingly so, and they're low, means that they're doing what they have always done. And that means that just like an insurance policy, the premiums are low. And the premiums are low for those in the paper space. Now, you and I, we operate in model space. And the model is where it is real. And this, my friends, is real gold. This is real silver. And we pay a premium for these. In fact, when silver was trading at below $12 an ounce, good luck back then in March of 2020 finding an ounce of silver for $20. You were paying $20, $21, $22 an ounce for silver eagles then. And the prices kept going up from there, and premiums rise as well. So there is a separation, sort of, between the paper and physical paper model space for gold and silver. And for those of you who are CAD junkies, you will understand that terminology. But there you have it, gold and silver, metals that will continue to shine, as these metals are. These are proof gold and silver eagles, and they shine on no matter the price. Their value shall be retained. Gold and silver, metals that have proven themselves. Gold and silver are self-evident, and they will continue to be because, well, they are God's money. And so if you are nervous about the precious metal markets and you have a holding of gold and silver, hang on to them. It doesn't hurt to hang on. That's for sure. And at the very least, if you are encouraged, then maybe you might want to make a purchase if you feel inclined to do so. In fact, we see it happening. There's still a good market out there for gold and silver. And so press on. Despite the supply chains, despite inflation, despite what's going on geopolitically, and when the prices are low like this, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity that I believe we should seize upon if we have the financial wherewithal to do so. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and after all of that, subscribe.